So on the phone line right now on Happy Hour, filling in for the Mike O radio show on 102.5 The Bone is director David Seth Cohen of Finding Sandler. What's going on, David?
Ryan, what's going on, man? It's funny, I'm listening to you. You've really come a long way on the radio. It's really impressive, man.
That means a lot, bro. But I have so much time with you because you're a busy guy. So, David, you fascinate me. So explain to the audience, I know what happened, but explain to the audience, you're making a movie. Has it come out yet, Finding Sandler? I find this fascinating because you've been working so hard on it. So to all of Tampa Bay and Fort Myers and almost to Orlando, tell everybody about this movie you've been working on, Finding Sandler.
So I started on Finding Sandler way back in 2006, and I've been doing it ever since. The quick synopsis of the movie is when I was 1998, I had just graduated college, and I was working on the movie Big Daddy with Adam Sandler. And my boss, who was the costume designer, instructed me to go deliver clothing to Adam. I also had to drive this woman home who was another PA in my department, and then I was told just to drop the car off and go home. And, you know, what seemed like a meaningless task to me at that moment ended up turning into like this crazy life-changing event in my life. I went to Sandler's building. I double parked the car. This PA was waiting in the car. I told her I'd be right back. I ran into the building. Now this is in the middle of Manhattan. I'm double parked. And back then, Ryan, I was a poor 22-year-old, college grad.
Me too.
I had no cell phone. Yeah, you know how I feel. I had no cell phone, nothing. So I go into the building as directed. I hand the clothes to the doorman as directed. And the doorman goes, "Hey, just bring him up to Adam." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I went up to Adam's floor. I knocked on the door to his apartment. And from behind the door, all of a sudden I hear, "Who is it? What do you want?" He was yelling. It was like I knew it was Adam Sandler at that point because he yelled at me like he yells in his movies. And I was like, "Oh, it's Dave. I'm just a PA here to deliver your clothes for the premiere." And he opens the door, and he's got this huge smile on his face, and he goes, "Hey, man, you want to come in and hang out and have a drink?" And I kind of froze at that moment because, my boss had given me those things to do. I had the woman waiting in the car. I had no way of contacting her. I didn't want to get fired from my job, and I basically froze. I said, "Look, I can't stay. No, I can't." And I left, and I never had that chance to hang out with Adam again. And now, Adam was always a hero of mine growing up. I mean, growing up as a Jewish kid, there were never any Hanukkah songs on the radio when you were a kid. So when he came out with that, it was like, it made you kind of feel cool to be Jewish. We finally have one, and it's really cool, So, I kind of really regretted not getting the chance to stay and hang out and just, talk to Adam. I kind of equate it like somebody that's, huge into technology and, Steve Jobs when he was alive saying, "Hey, you want to come in and hang out and have a drink?" And them saying no. To me, that was like my opportunity to, learn or, get advice or whatever it may be from a hero of mine. And it's something that, I always was just like, what if, And so fast forward to 2006, I'm a producer at a Catholic TV station on Long Island in New York. And just not really where I thought I would be in my life. I had a girlfriend at the time with 2 dogs, and I was living in my grandmother's basement apartment. Just wasn't where I thought I would be at age 30. And one night I had this dream that I went to California looking for Adam Sandler. And in my dream, I would run into people from the set of Big Daddy, and nobody would help me find him. I kept asking, "Hey, can you help me find Adam Sandler?" And somehow I ended up in my vision of his production company. And I'm sitting in his lunchroom, and I'm talking to somebody directly across from me. And then Sandler's diagonal and starts talking to me. We start walking and talking, and I woke up. And when I woke up, I felt like it was just this, like a revelation almost that I had to do something about this whole thing, or I'd just go on regretting it for the rest of my life. And I called my business partner at the time, and I said, "Hey, man, listen, I just had this dream. I want to make a movie. It's going to be called Finding Sandler, and I want to go on a quest to find Adam and have that drink that I passed up back in 1998. And his response wasn't like, "Oh, great idea, man." It was like, hey, it's like 6 in the morning. Can I go back to bed and we'll talk about this later? But he ended up agreeing, and he was the first person to jump on and help, and then it just kind of went from there.
So I've read some mean comments. Like, there was like this radio show that put up a post about it because mostly people are rooting for you. I'm rooting for you because I've known you for 9 years. You're a good friend. You're a very genuine guy. But there were some people that were saying that you were being kind of obsessive, like, move on already. So to some of the like douchebags online, because trust me, I get a decent amount of hate. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. So I'm used to it. But for you, what do you say to the people that might not agree with your movie?
I mean, listen, I don't blame anybody for not agreeing with anything because it's human nature to not agree with people all the time. You know, people that believe in what I'm doing and think it's cool, great. You know, they're fans. But there's nothing wrong with haters too. You know, you have haters. There's a great quote from Pitbull, and he says, "If you have haters, you're doing something right because people are talking about you." So you know what, man? God bless the haters. Let them hate. Let them hate all they want. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. It's been a long journey. You know, my quest isn't necessarily about Adam Sandler. It's about accomplishing a goal that I've wanted to accomplish, and that is actually finishing a film and making a movie. And Adam Sandler was the inspiration for me to do that. So, you know, let people say whatever they want. You know, that's totally fine. And, you know, I'm happy with what I did, and I don't regret making the movie.
So I got some info from my producer about you, and my producer being me going on imdb.com. It says here that at age 10, you began making films and performing live shows. Now, I'm not trying to make this about me, but I feel very similar to you, where I wanted to go into radio since a young age of growing up in Chicago and the way they covered 9/11 because I didn't have TV. So isn't it kind of cool to think that, like, since we were young, we had these dreams? Maybe people believed in you or didn't, but, like, there's something really magical about having one goal and no backup plan. I don't know if you have a backup plan, but I don't.
You know, I don't. It's funny. I mean, look, I do all sorts of video production and photography work, you know, to supplement, you know, these films that I do as well. But it's in the same realm of you know, filmmaking. It's just filmmaking for corporations and stuff like that. But I do have a couple other films that are kind of in the works. And so, you know, I'm hoping that when Finding Sandler gets out there and people see it, that'll be the icing on the cake.
So one of our hosts here, Maurice Javon, a very talented radio guy, very talented author and director. He made WDED, which is based off of like radio. It's a zombie movie. It's a very great movie that they made. And he was saying it's hard to like get the movies onto like Netflix or Hulu or Amazon. Like it's a grind to get on those services. Have you been in communication? Have you been talking to any of these services? And if so, how hard is it to get their approval?
That's a great question, Ryan. I haven't been talking to them yet. The film has just been completed. We started submitting it to festivals. The first step for us, because it's such an independent film, is trying to go the festival route where, you know, when it gets into a festival and people see it, start talking about it, you know, at that point, we're hoping that it'll open up a conversation with, you know, a Netflix, an Amazon, a Hulu, an HBO Max, or whatever, you know, popular streaming service is out there. But no, we haven't been talking to them yet. And yes, it is, you know, from what I hear as well, it's not very easy. You know, most of those services are looking for, you know, films with a big budget that have major celebrities attached to them, and you know, that kind of project. You know, Finding Sandler is a very low budget, independent film, and I mean like fully independent, man. You know, not a lot of people working on it like a big budget feature that a studio makes. So, you know, we'll see what happens. At the very least, we will self-distribute the film at some point, but the plan is to find distribution, you know, once we get into a festival and start, you know, screening it where people can see it.
So I'm guessing, because you're a very outgoing guy, that when you're on set, you're very talkative, you command the room. Now, for me, I'm very outgoing on air. I don't hold back, but in person or at bars, I'm more of an introvert. So how similar is David Seth Cohen in work mode to David Seth Cohen at home with his girl? Are you the same person, or do you find a need to like turn off work mode?
I mean, my regular day, I'm always kind of thinking about work. I actually love what I do, and I think that's actually what I think is huge for me, because there are a lot of people that are stuck in their everyday life, their everyday job, and they're just not happy with what they do, so they don't want to talk about it later on. But for me, I love what I do, so I don't mind talking about it any day of the week or anywhere. But as far as how I am when I go out, to bars and stuff like that, I'm outgoing, but I like to hang with a small crowd and the people that I know and trust and love. But Ryan, you stand out, man, because you're super tall.
Damn right. Yes, I'm very tall. I'm 6'9", but 6'8.5". But when I was on the dating apps, it's more fun to say 6'9", even though it's low brow.
Hey, listen, 6'9" is nice and tall, man. I wish I could borrow like 5 inches from your height.
If you had 5 inches, what would be the difference in your life? Like, I'm willing to give it to you. I'm willing to be 6'4" and not notice as well. What would you do with the 5 more inches?
Well, I would certainly get rained on a lot quicker than I do now. The rain would hit me a lot earlier. And I would be able to see over people at a bar instead of having to, cram through them. So I'd probably just use the viewing angle to my advantage in some capacity.
This is going to be the greatest transition in radio. So for the viewing angle, where can people find your work, and what's going on with finding Sandler? How can they follow it on social media and whatnot?
That was a great transition, Ryan.
Thank you.
We have an Instagram, Finding Sandler. It's at Finding Sandler. Same thing with Facebook. Finding Sandler on Facebook. If they just Google Finding Sandler, a ton of stuff will come up. There's the new movie trailer. You just Google Finding Sandler 2022 trailer, and that'll come up. And then I've been doing a lot of TikToks, Ryan. I started getting into that.
I saw that.
It's actually really fun. Yeah, it's really fun. And I've been doing a bunch for the movie, using a couple little clips from the film and stuff like that. So people could hop on my TikTok, which is Real David Seth Cohen, and they could find a couple TikToks in regards to the film there as well. So and then we also have a website, FindingSandler.com, which definitely needs to be updated. And then of course my own personal website is DavidSethCohen.com, so people could go there. They could go to the contact page and shoot me an email if they have any questions.
Well, David, it's been a lot of fun having you on the show. It's crazy. We went from talking to a parking lot and a cemetery across the block from Harper College. That's what the range was. We literally talked to dead people and kids that didn't want to go to community college when we were on 88.3 FM. And now we're talking to all of Tampa Bay in my debut show. So this is a surreal moment. You've been a good friend, and keep up the good work. And if you ever need any promotion, man, let me know. I'll promote you on my account.
Thanks, Ryan. And listen, man, I really appreciate being on the show. I'm grateful to you for having me, and I hope that, you'll always remember this first episode. I will.
I'll never forget it. David Seth Cohen of Finding Sandler. Thank you for coming on Hoppe Hour, filling in for the Michael Radio Show on 102.5 The Bone. It's been a blast.
You got it, Ryan. Take care. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, bro.
You're listening to the Mike O Radio Show on 102.5 The Bone.